So what we did to solve all of those problems is that we actually embedded a whole computer on our device. So as powerful as a Macbook Air. It has 8.8 gigahertz of CPU. It has enough RAM to run a machine learning inside. And what that allows us to do is, one, it's very fast because it doesn't need another device to make sense of the data. The device makes sense of the data itself. It runs a whole operating system. We can encrypt everything and secure everything in our authentication authorization, so we don't openly broadcast anything.
Hey everybody, welcome to Techforpsych, where we combine the latest in neurotechnology with ancient wisdom to supercharge your brain. I'm Dr. Cody Rall, your medical doctor confidant. In this video, we're going to talk about the Notion 2. This is my Notion 2 review video. And what we're going to do is talk to the co-founder, Alex Castillo, about what makes the Notion 2 such an interesting device. I think that, I've been asked for years what device programmers should go to, people that want to actually design applications for brain-computer interface. Whether you want to control a light with your mind or a robotic car, or even someday in the future have enough data fidelity to control a robotic arm. If you want to get started on this kind of stuff and you're a programmer, I think this is the device for you. In the past, I would have recommended the emotive system, and this is comparable in cost to the emotive epoch. But the emotive epoch has some limitations, and Alex will talk about this on the video today. Alex was a project lead for programming in both Grubhub and Netflix before going and founding this company, Neurosity. And so he had this passion for a brain-computer interface, but he was taking a look at all these different wearables and recognized some limitations in their ability to do training for controlling things with your thoughts through brain-computer interface. And some of those big limitations were that all these other devices are using Bluetooth communication. And the problem with that is there's a sampling rate and a loss of data as the device is transmitting data from the device itself to your smartphone by using Bluetooth. There's low latency, meaning that it happens quickly, but a lot of data is lost. So Alex will talk about how they actually outfitted their device with a processor on board. I mean, this thing is as strong as a MacBook Air. And so all the data gets stored in the device itself. No data is lost. There are privacy concerns there where the data is stored actually on the device instead of transmitted, meaning that your data, your brain data, is protected more with the device like this. And if you're trying to program things like brain-computer interface, you need all the data that you can get in order for the application to work the best that it can be.
Most recently at Netflix, I was working in the partners and devices team. And we were building tools for companies, third-party companies that installed an Netflix SDK on their TVs and all sorts of devices. But we have tried pretty much everything out there on the research and consumer side of things. And it's amazing how far we've come. I mean, in the last decade, so many companies have done amazing jobs at solving different issues. Ultimately, the experience that we're going for is for real world applications, which means that for anyone, regardless of their technical background, they should be able to use it just like they use their phones or any other device that is consumer friendly. And in order to deliver a consumer friendly experience, you need, in fact, clinical grade and research grade equipment, but then the actual usage and the ease of use, the setup has to be really, really robust, right? Things like dongles and signal quality become very important. Like it's easier for you to be able just to access a device without having to set up anything external, and also not having to depend on what operating system the user is using, right? Something universal. So we adopted the web, right? Our brain-computer interface directly connects to the internet, and you're able to log into it securely through any web application or mobile application, instead of having to go to like the very traditional research process of like putting gel on the device, and then having to install drivers and then taking certain steps to get to user experience. So we solve all of that, and we're pretty happy about it. Traditional brain-computer interfaces, they use a microcontroller that they basically capture the signal from the sensors and they broadcast the signal via Bluetooth. That's how you get a wireless experience, right? That was really amazing, 10 years ago, but it has proven not to be efficient because you have multiple problems. Bluetooth is amazing for latency, but not for bandwidth. So it ended up dropping packets of data. When you drop packets of data, your signal is rendered useless, right? At least for a really good, accurate experience. And then at the same time, openly broadcasting brainwaves, we believe, is a security and a privacy issue. So what we did to solve all of those problems is that we actually embedded a whole computer on our device. So as powerful as a Macbook Air, it has 8.8 gigahertz of CPU. It has enough RAM to run our machine learning inside. And what that allows us to do is, one, is very fast because it doesn't need another device to make sense of the data. The device makes sense of the data itself. It runs a whole operating system. We can encrypt everything and secure everything in our authentication authorization. So we don't openly broadcast anything. Only the owner and the person who has an account can access that. And then we use Wi-Fi for wireless transmission, which is a much better fit for this technical problem of transmitting data, even if you need to transmit all the raw data that is being processed and captured by the neurons in the brain.
In other areas, they didn't really reinvent the wheel. They used top quality EEG sensors on this thing that he'll talk about, but it's not like they created a whole new set of sensors that you would find different from other wearables. And, the shape is definitely different. I think that has to do with the computing part that's on board, and it's a little bit heavier of a device than any of the other ones that I've used. If you get your hands on one of these, you'll notice that it's quite a bit more heavy than the other devices, and that's because this actually has a computing unit on board. But it definitely fits nicely on the head here. I did notice that it's difficult sometimes to get a good EEG connection, so you have to rub it in circular motion like this until you get a good connection. Maybe a little wetting of the EEG sensors improves the signal a bit, because you definitely want good signal if you're doing programming and trying to get this thing to respond to your thoughts for brain-computer interface exercises. And Neurosity, the other amazing part of this company is that they've opened up the software development kit. It is free to use if you have a Notion 2. So that really differs from a company like Emotive as well, where they're charging you high amounts in some cases to access the raw EEG data off their device. And I think the last time I looked, the Emotive plan was up to $200 a month. I mean, that is a lot of money. And this device isn't cheap either, but you buy it the one-time price, and then you've got lifetime access to the software development kit. It's web-based, so you're not running into obstacles for accessing the raw EEG data to create your web-based applications if you want to start a company by using EEG. Initial features of the Notion 2 include this cool music app that analyzes your brainwaves while you work to improve your efficiency by making song suggestions based on your brainwaves through your Spotify account. I had a lot of fun playing with this. But what I'm really excited about is the Kinesis feature, in which you can do trainings with your brain data for doing brain-computer interface applications. For example, on this application, I trained my data to trigger a downward scroll when thinking about moving my right index finger. It definitely takes some work to get good data to work with, but once you have trained up the application properly, you can start using it for different commands. I was able to use this scroll page that is available online once you get the device, and scroll down with my thoughts of moving my right index finger. Other users have programmed it to do things like cue a machine to make their morning coffee and other interesting applications. You can train different triggers like imagining biting into a lemon or moving different parts of your body. And then what you program from there using their software development kit is up to you, since they have free access to their SDK. People have already done rudimentary controls of drones, guitar wah pedals, and simple online gaming. And if you're not a programmer and you still really want to experience this, there's a ton of applications coming out for the device through third-party developers that you can interact with just as a regular user. All in all, I'm very excited about this device. My criticisms are that it is a high price tag for the average consumer. Right now, it's sitting at $899. So I'm focusing my recommendation on programmers that really want to get into programming brain-computer interface applications. And again, I do actually feel like it's economical and advantageous for programmers because of its free SDK compared to other brain wearables and the computing features that you get along with it actually on the wearable itself, rather than just relying on the computing power of your smartphone through Bluetooth. I would say that it is heavier and less comfortable than other devices like, say, the Muse S, but we can contribute that to the computing unit on board the wearable itself for the improved data fidelity and storage. Also, some consumers may worry about the device using Wi-Fi instead of low energy Bluetooth with regards to increased levels of EMF compared to other brainwave devices that just use Bluetooth. I have been informed that Neurosity has been deemed safe for human use by the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, and that they've also shielded the device components from electromagnetic interference, which improves the safety levels when using it. Really, this is less radiation than you are getting from a cell phone looking for a cell tower, so I've never really been concerned about it, to be honest. And I would say that the battery life could use some improvement. It only has 2 hours of battery life, but I did find that it recharges quite quickly.
So a little bit of a background when it comes to programmers. My co-founder, AJ, and I were both programmers. Turns out when we were building our operating system for Notion One, we ended up coding during fatigue times. So our code quality would be impacted. The next day, we ended up trashing some code because our brain was not at its optimal state. So once we started measuring our own productivity with our device, we knew exactly when to take breaks when we were optimal. And we eventually figured out how to use music to get us in the zone for longer, right? So by helping ourselves build the product, we're helping other programmers as well. That's why people are buying the device. Then when it comes to the SDK and the API, right? We opened it up completely and we made it very easy to use, like with a few lines of code and nothing else involved. You can access the device's data in any part of the world and transmit to any part of the world. So we made it very robust. Just the experience that you would expect out of a consumer product these days, right? With all the gold standards that we use, that all the companies, big company use for security, authentication, cloud. So we did all of that with our previous experience. And then when it comes to projects, our users and our community, they have been amazing. When was it? Yesterday, I saw someone controlling their Christmas tree with Notion 2. And I thought that was amazing. The same person also controlled a coffee machine and completely hacked the coffee machine so could create coffee for him. And then we have Charlie Gerard that has been able to control games with it, like the Crumbs Dino game. He's been able to jump with using the device in the SDK, no extra code needed. Because we do process and you can do the training with the device to basically train commands to happen when you think of an imagined movement. And then we have countless examples of what people have done. Researchers, neuroscientists have been able to see ERPs, SSVP, all that traditional classical brain-computer interface, all those approaches, they've been able to validate those with Notion 2. That's why we have universities and organizations and neurotech startups wanting to use our device.
And doing brain-computer interface research exercises or starting a company, man, take a look at the Neurosity system. Take a look at the Notion 2, because what they're doing, I think, is really transforming what has been done so far in EEG wearables for people that want to program and use EEG devices. And there's a lot of applications that are coming out of this. People are designing new apps right now as we speak. There's been a couple of companies already started from using this hardware and the software, and really exciting time. And the company is really open to collaboration. They're very responsive, and I think that what you'll find is the customer service is going to be a lot better than if you went with the emotive system.
We like treating our users the way we want to be treated. And I think there was a need in the market for a developer-focused brain-computer interfaces. I think developers are the future and are going to take this to the next level, right? So for us, operating the SDK, not charging, was more of us trying to be very, very polite to our users and give them a chance and not add barriers. My camera's frozen, but you can still hear me. Don't worry, it'll come back online. But to your point, one of the big differences, I guess, or one value that we provide is that we try to create an autonomous device that it doesn't require a third-party device. Let me give you the most basic example. If you wanted to control a wheelchair today with any other device, you would put the device on, you would be on the wheelchair, right? And then you will have a laptop or some device that is getting the data from the device, making sense of it, and then controlling the wheelchair. What we did was that we combined the computer and the device and the wearable into one. So for real world applications, which is what we're going for, we want this thing to exist. We want people to wear it. We want people to get value out of it. People will be able to use the device, and that would communicate directly to any connected device, whether it's a wheelchair, whether it's a smart home. And you don't depend on that third-party system to basically do most of the heavy lifting when it comes to the software. We want all of our operating system. If you think about the next generation of operating system, is the one that understands the person, the user, that makes no assumptions of what you like or don't like. It learns from you. So that's what we're going here after. We're not going after a research product. We're going after a product for everyone, that it has an operating system that knows them and that helps them be better, healthier, happier, a better version of themselves. That's what we do. And we believe in community building. So we open our SDK to our community. We also believe in having an even playing field when it comes to like innovation. So for example, what Neurosity can build, anyone else can build with our own SDK, because we're consumers of our own platform and we don't have any advantages over anyone else. So we like that approach by being able to give everyone the same advantage so they can just unleash their creativity and build amazing neuro applications.
Yeah, the thing that gets me really excited and I like feel it in my heart is I'm just imagining someone that's getting into programming, really wanting to, you know, create something and be given this tool to be able to do something. What advice would you have for someone that's just getting into programming and is interested in brain computer interface and wants to use the Notion to, how should they navigate creating something for themselves?
Yeah, I mean, there are two ways programmers can take advantage of Notion 2. And the first one is obviously the productivity. You get your best work when your mind is in the right place, right? And what we do is that we automate music creation for people so they don't have to create playlists, like music, reorder, skip. Like, imagine if your subconscious was driving the whole experience of you getting primed with music, because music has that power of getting people into a certain mood, pumping people with energy. So that's one way you can just use our productivity tool for programmers. The other one is, of course, the SDK for building apps. We have a very comprehensive documentation out there. We have many different open source projects, from pushing code with your mind. We even go that far. From controlling a drone, from controlling music effects with the Notion 2. So I think there's plenty of for people to get inspired by. And also, we do have a Discord filled with amazing community members that we open to everyone that has a Notion 2 or is interested in just neurotechnology in general. It doesn't matter. So I think when people come together, the best ideas happen, and that has been our approach so far. We also reply to every single email and then website chat and everything, because we want to hear from the people who are as passionate as we are about this future that we're creating right now.
Yeah. What would you say to someone that maybe takes a look at some of these other devices like the Emotive Insight or the Muse headband, and they see a price tag of like $250, $300, and then they take a look at a Notion 2 and they're like, oh my gosh, this is almost, you know, twice as expensive. You know, I want the audience to hear from you what value they're getting for investing in a device like this, as opposed to some of the other ones that are in the market. I think it's important to make that distinction because, you know, people might look at the price and just get intimidated by it. But what would your advice be for people that are looking into getting brain computer interface and taking a look at a Notion 2?
Yeah, I think there are brain computer interfaces for research. they are the platforms that are going to enable real world applications. If you're more of the former, plenty of options out there. That's not really what we are trying to do, even though, research and neuroscientists are using it for the added benefits, of course. But if you are into, seriously developing for a platform, for an application that people will use, or just for fun, definitely Notion 2 could be a good fit. That being said, price is always, a concern, or sometimes it is a concern, of course. I have mixed feelings about the price personally. In one hand, I'm super proud of what a team of mostly 2 people were able to accomplish in the world of BCI and tackling problems that can save many thousands of dollars to developers. For the first 2 years in my neurotech career, I was troubleshooting Bluetooth and troubleshooting connectivity. We solved that for once and for all. So we consider time, even if not more valuable than the actual money spent or extra money spent. That's something to take into consideration. And that's what I would say. And then on the other hand, I also know that more affordable prices, are also in the roadmap. I'm super excited that we're going to be working really fast, or, really passionate about decreasing the price. One thing that I can tell you is that every single device that we've created today and we have shipped, we've assembled ourselves by hand, is mostly a work of love for sure. But I think it's all in the value and what you're trying to do. Notion 2 is different from the others in the sense that it runs an operating system, and it's actually a computer that, instead of having a keyboard and a screen and a trackpad, it uses your brain activity to help you and optimize your life, right? So on the other hand, we also have offered free software and free SDK. I don't know if that's important or not. But I think for people who want to build real world applications and don't want to worry about connectivity issues, signal quality, Notion 2 could be a good option. But so many things to try out there, right? I'm just particularly biased. I would just ask people to go to the different communities and ask other people to see what their experiences are, so they can get a very honest answer from users from all over the world.
Now, this device is flexible. It's got wings that adjust to your head size, as well as it can expand to adjust to your head size. So you can definitely get it to customize your head size and sit on your head like so. And there's a couple of different applications that you can use right out of the gate. You can use this Spotify song selection thing that's actually really fun. You work with the device on your head, and then it analyzes your brainwaves and makes Spotify suggestions based on how focused you were during work sessions. The other thing that I find really applicable to what we're talking about in use for programmers is there's a training tab. You can train your data to respond to thoughts in your brain. Like if you think, of biting into a lemon, like a very unique neuronal response to what your thought patterns are in thinking of biting into a lemon, or clasping your fingers like this. So you just think about it in your mental imagery that you're clasping your fingers. You then train the program to respond to those mental thoughts, and you can use those training data in order to control things like turn a light on and off, scroll through a page, or use your imagination, more complex things that you would want to control with your mind. So you can see where this is going. You can actually use training sets with the Notion 2 hardware to train the software in order to allow your applications to work. And there's so many possibilities here. And again, going back to the computing properties of this, no data is lost. So, although this has been done in the past by, for instance, the emotive systems, we'll see over time if this pans out, but I think that it's more responsive than what the emotive systems were able to do. And this is just getting up and running. I tried the emotive systems back in the day. It worked okay. This seems to work better. And, I've been using it in my doing my trainings and trying to train better and better data sets in order to have it respond to my thoughts that much better. And this is really where these EEG wearables are going. As the data fidelity gets better, as our software analyses get better, these devices will become more and more responsive to our thoughts and those types of patterns. So if you're a programmer, if you're a developer, and you want to get in into the game now and catch the wave of programmable BCI, I think this is the device to get your feet wet and really start designing things in order to break in and establish yourself as a subject matter expert and an engineer or a programmer that wants to design brain-computer interface applications.
So we, again, didn't want to reinvent the wheel if we were going to create something where we're going to be solving problems. So when you see different sensors, it's because we create our sensors also from scratch and design, and even create a replaceable mechanism so people can get the best signal quality at all times. So our sensors, they don't require any saline or gel-based products because, again, it's for that audience that you put a headset on and then you're ready to go, right? No setup time required. We made it replaceable so you can replace them every month or so, depending on how much you use it. Our users, on average, are using it for 2 to 3 hours a day, doing Monday to Friday, doing their work for productivity. And they get to replace their sensors after a month or so. And that's what we've created, just a different approach that solves specific issues of comfort, of signal quality, ease of use, and most importantly, a good consumer-grade experience.
Yeah, can you tell us what material the sensors are made out of?
Yeah, they are coated with the traditional silver chloride, and we have the best, one of the best biocompatibility for dry sensors out there. And then our design is optimized for long use, for comfort, and for signal quality. Notion 2 specifically has a system where the electrodes can, you can push them in and they can pivot. So they basically use kind of like memory foam to convert to your head for maximum comfort.
And I guess the other thing I should ask you is, what does the next 6 months look like for Neurosity moving forward? I know you guys have a batch getting ready for shipping out in March, and you're taking pre-orders for that. And
yeah.
What do things look like for 2021 with you guys?
Yeah. Our first batch shipped in 2019. Second batch shipped September 2020. We had told people that batch 2 were going to be delivered in December, but we were able to surprise people with an early shipment. We have been lucky enough that we sold out both batches really quickly. And now we're ramping up to our third batch in March. It's already filling up right now. But we have some surprises that I cannot tell you right now, but I think people are going to be stoked when March comes. We have been working on many new things, both on the hardware and the software side of things, and we couldn't be happier. Also, there's already companies that have built applications and launched mobile apps to like the Google Play Store for neurofeedback, to like treat insomnia. So where we start seeing that vision that we have of like a marketplace where people with a brain-computer interface can just download an app and they can do all sorts of things. So also expect many new apps in all fronts of entertainment, mental health, productivity, quantified self, and everything else.
So that's everything today. Hope you were interested in this device. Take a look at their website. They've sold out 2 batches already. They'll be getting ready to send out more. So take a look at their website and see if this is something that interests you and that you can decide to overcome that cost barrier. Take a look at their website and see if you want to break into this groundbreaking industry that is wearable neurotechnology devices for brain-computer interface programming. This is Dr. Cody Rall with Techforpsych. Talk to you again soon.